doing this with me. I know it was quite a short time, yeah. So
You're
thank you very
welcome.
much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I think we're live. Let me just put it on the
Fantastic.
WhatsApp that we're live.
Fantastic.
Okay, so I think I've sent that out that we're live.
Fantastic.
Um yeah, so I'm just gonna get started. Okay, yeah, so people are gonna join anyway. It's YouTube, it's on YouTube, so we're gonna have
Okay.
people join later. So good evening, Amaya. For those of you just joining, this is Amaya. Amaya is my friend, and she's been in this whole journey with me as a salesman would be, and has been helping in quite a number of things. So I wanted Amaya to come talk to us about a lot of things. So I had an idea of an event that will speak about man, mind, and money. Right. So and I said this is the best person to come speak to us because of experience staff. And I would like her to just talk to us freely. This is going to be an interactive session. We're just going to speak freely, right? It's like we speak a lot on the phone. People need to hear some of it, right? Because people need that too. So yes, so you guys already know I'm salesman will be digital marketing expert, sales expert, designer. I mean, I design for a living and I teach people how to make money. That's my job. So today we're going to be talking about man, mind, and money. And when we say man, it's not just the gender man, but we're
Mhm.
talking everybody. When we say God made man, it's not male, it's God made man in his own
Yeah.
image. So it's not just talking about male, yeah. So it's gonna be an interesting time. And yeah, so I'm just gonna allow Amaya to introduce herself. Guys, you can tell us where you're joining from. As you join, tell us where you're joining from. So Amaya, you have the stage, please. Go ahead. We
Fantastic.
have things to say, but just go ahead.
Fantastic. So, Obi, thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be
Yeah.
here. My name is Sarugwe Amayabo, and I happen to be a higher education consultant, and as well, I also double as a self mastery coach. Typically, I like to have conversations around understanding yourself, knowing who you are, knowing what you're capable of doing, and just sort of helping people step by step just be on that journey towards their greatness. So that's typically what the work that I do is about. So yeah.
Okay, great, 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 great. This is amazing. I mean, if people don't know you, and when I say don't know you, people don't know like you what you carry. Amaya has been. I mean, there are people in your life that when God put them in your life, right, half of your problem are solved because their presence alone. When they talk to you, you get that life. So this evening, we want to talk about a topic that's really, really important to me. In the society today, quite a lot of things are going on. Let's not go far. Let's come down to Nigeria, our country. Quite a number of things are going on, and a lot of people just seem to lose it, right? I mean, we've all been there. I mean, I've been there where you're doing something, you're not getting ahead. You're like, what's happening? Why am I not getting this thing? What's wrong with me, right? And you're stuck in that mode. You can't get out of it. and you go through that whole process, repeat it, come back to it. Some people never even make it out of that whole scenario, right?
Yeah.
So tonight we just want to talk about things that would help anyone who is in that state or in that place get out of it, walk through it, and start to get the results that we're getting through. What this is, I mean, this is amazing. I appreciate this session um this month because sometime I think around this time last year it was ugly, right? It was a
Yeah.
very dark place for me. I didn't know how to navigate quite a lot of things, and it was really stressful, right? And talking to people like you, and a whole lot of other people, helped me find myself. So, I'm just gonna start. Then we share. One of the first things I want to talk about is self awareness, right? Like people talk about self-awareness as the ability to know where you're going to, what you're supposed to be doing in life, your attitude, your career, things like that. But for me, self-awareness starts from identity, right? You
Yes.
have to know who you are in the first place. And I think that is where, for many people struggle with identity, right? Because you
Yes.
have somebody who's has a lot of potential, who's the game, and it's just there. I mean, we've seen people where like we heard them speak once, and we're wondering, why is this person not out there doing this here? And they're just like, well, see, it's not my thing, nobody will like it. Or you're supposed to go, you see people who can do a certain business or have a certain skill, and they're not getting ahead with anything. And that's because of our identity. One of the things I want to clarify, because I'm also going to be speaking from a Christian point of view, is understanding who you are by nature is very
Yeah.
important. Very,
Yes.
very important. Now, one of the things that helped me is to understand who made me in the first place, right? There are questions we need to ask. For what purpose was I made? Now, man, in essence, what was I made for? And in how was I made, right? What is inside me? What are the tools that they used to make me, right? When God was creating plants, he just called them from the dirt in the earth. When he was creating fishes, he called them from the water. When he was creating us, he called us from himself, right?
Mm. Yeah.
He built us from himself. There's a notion that people have that I'm just human. That's like the biggest fallacy I've ever heard in my life. There's nothing like you're just human, right? Because being human really is about your body, your flesh. That's it. That's the thing that makes you human, right? That's the thing you can identify. You are spirit, soul, then body. You are a
Yeah.
spirit, complete. There's no error inside. You have a soul for your
Yeah.
intellect, for your thinking. Then you have the body so that you can exist on this plane, this whole
Yes.
design, right?
Yeah.
Because if you want to exist out of this place, then you have to be spirit, and the human body cannot see spirit except maybe through special encounters and all of that. You have to understand your identity first. And when you say you're made in the image, I was sitting down sometime in 2022, no 23, just before the elections, right? And I was finding it difficult to take steps. I mean, I used to call you a lot, I was finding it difficult to take steps, and I just said, let me even just pray. And the Bible verse just popped into my mind. Let's create man in our own image and likeness. And I like to look for stuff to know the actual meaning. So I went to look for image and likeness. And I like to be practical. So I stood in front of the mirror and I moved like this and I moved like this. My image followed me. If you are created in somebody's image, it means you look exactly like there's no comma, there's
Yes.
no error in that thing. It's the
True.
way it is. If you move in a mirror and your image refuses to move, that is not your image at all. It does not belong to you at all.
True.
And then you can start running and all of that. And likeness is characteristics. So
Yeah.
most of us do not understand our identity. We are, quote and unquote, we're little gods. God built somewhere, but he's too big to stay here. And it's like, okay, I'm going to put some guys here to take care of it and design it to my taste. And then he created us in his own image. We are the only beings on earth that can think, right? That can think deeply, that can meditate. Animals don't think, they only think of food. When they wake up in the morning, how to run away from not getting killed and how to find food. Those are the only two important things in their menu, right? But we think about the good things of life, we think about people, we think about loved ones. There's so much to think about. Think about ideas, how to develop the world. When you understand that you are made in the image of God, and I'm not saying this from the church where we've been saying it, oh, you are born in the image and likeness of God, and everybody's like, oh, my daddy Jesus. No, that's not it. You're literally, you have the characteristics of God in you. I used to tell somebody that you need to be careful about the things you say to yourself. Somebody who says, I am a procrastinator. The I am in every word you use is the God factor. It doesn't matter what you say. That I am puts everything in motion. So when you say
Yeah.
I am a person, the I am in that whole thing starts to accelerate everything into every single thing that you're doing, whether it is bad or whether it is good. He already puts it in motion. So you have to get to that place where you're like, look, I am made in God's image. They're just
Mm.
not impossible to me, right? I mean, I don't think God finds it hard to do things. He might maybe be looking for people, but it's not hard. Like there's no impossibility to him. You need to know where you're coming from. You're from God, you think like God, you speak like him, you talk like him. We're the only ones who can speak. Animals don't talk. Like animals don't talk. And when we speak, it comes to reality. Nigeria today is the collective spoken word. Nigeria no feel better. And we still go and be praying for Nigeria to be better when every single day we keep saying it. So when we talk about being self-aware, you need to understand your identity, that this is who I am. They're just things that are not, impossible to me. Right? There are other things I want to talk about, weaknesses and strengths, but let me allow Amaya, speak on that topic.
Fantastic. I think that the things that you've shared are 100% valid. And it is very critical that as a person, that your identity is not hinged on what you do, right?
Mm,
It is hinged on, just like you mentioned, on whose you are. And just taking reference from Genesis 1, talking about God saying, let us make man in our own image, after our own likeness. And so, if we consider that we are made after the image and likeness of God, that means we have the ability that God has. We have the capacity that God has. But the truth is, someone might be listening to this conversation today and say, Obi, Amaya, you're saying we have the ability that God has, we have the capacity that God has. But why is it that my life is not reflecting that? That's where the conversation of awareness starts from, right? If you don't know that you possess a thing, it becomes difficult for you to even utilize it.
true.
If you don't know that you possess a thing, it becomes difficult for you to utilize it. And so that's why the best thing that anybody can do for themselves, not just to themselves, is that they acquire the right information, the right knowledge.
Hmm.
When you look at Joshua 1, right?
Yeah.
And just hearing God talk to Joshua about what he was going to do, considering that Moses had had passed on, and Joshua was going to become a leader. And everybody would just look like, okay, why was God just saying to Joshua, this book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate day and night. So that means, I was saying to someone that when the scripture was telling Joshua day and night, is that in the day, you have to first of all absorb what the word says about you,
Mhm.
come to terms with it, and then use what you have absorbed in the day to go out to the world, right? At night, so in the day when you're in the world gives you bass both left and right. At night, when you come back, you have to then rinse your mind with the word still,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so people that are not, like, let's say, believers that are on this call, they're like, oh, why are they just talking churchy things? But I can also tell you from a psychological standpoint, to tell you that if you really want to make any difference in your life is that you have to come to terms with knowing the value that you have inherently. And so sometimes life will give you so much blow, so much tough things that you almost forget it. And so that's why you have to keep constantly reminding yourself, reminding yourself, reminding yourself. But if you don't even know that you have something in your possession, you can never use it. I use this illustration all the time. I think someone is broke and they've asked for a favor and they told a friend of theirs, please, can you give me like 100K? And typically you usually get alerts to know that okay, money has been wired to you. But the entire day you never received an alert. Especially now that I think like yesterday, GT Bank was just acting funny. Where they were fine. You never received an alert. And this person has sent the money, let's say 8 a.m. in the morning. And you're just pissed. Like this person didn't send the money. So you now finally call them by 6 p.m. And they say, oh, I sent the money by 8 a.m. So was it that the money was not there by 9 a.m. in the morning? It was there, but you never did anything because you did not know that the money was there. And so as a person, if you want to, you will always be told that the difference between where you are now and where you are meant to be, sometimes it's just a knowledge gap. It's just a knowledge gap. You have to then close that gap by knowledge acquisition. And there was something I learned last year is that studying. What Bible was talking about in Timothy, Paul was telling Timothy, study to show thyself approved. A workman, a workman, that rightfully divides the word of truth. Is that studying is a habit for royalty.
Yes.
Studying is a habit for royalty. So if you think of yourself as royalty, and if you think, oh, I don't come from privilege, I'm not from royalty, as a believer, please pardon us. We keep saying as a believer because that's where I take my main references from. Scripture will tell us that we are, royal generation, a peculiar people. That we are come from this king, we are from the above kingdom. So, create God's domain on the earth. And so, if you are from a kingdom, you have to know what is pertinent there to be able to rule effectively. So, if we say that you're a child of God, and we say that you are made in the image and likeness of God, and we say that you belong to a particular kingdom, you have to know how it functions there. It's like buying your device. In recent times, I don't think cell phone comes with, when you buy a cell phone now, I don't think it comes with manual anymore. But so for some gadgets, there is like an app within it that, sort of tells you what the phone can do, even though there's no paper description anymore. But so often, as humans, we don't go to then understand what we have and what we can do. And so we're wondering why we're malfunctioning. We're wondering why we're not delivering to capacity.
True.
And the truth is, when God was making man, by man is not just male man, both gender, humanity, he had placed in them everything, that makes him God within us. But you also, sometimes as you think about it, like as the human condition, right? That sometimes when people do not believe in what they have and what they can do, it's also a function of, how life has also bamboozled them. So we cannot typically say that, oh, this person is not trying to know, is not trying to know. It would then look as though we are speaking from an esoteric plane. We are not, conversant with the realities that people go through. But that's why it is very important to then renew your mind. It is very important to remind yourself of who you are. It is very important to also then take actions. I was telling somebody the other day that confidence, and it doesn't come from, having six packs and, dressing nice, smelling nice. Confidence comes in you just doing the things that you said you will do. That's how you build it.
Straight up.
If you like talk from now to tomorrow, speak all the amazing big grammars and everything, take no action, there's nothing.
Straight up.
And another thing too is that sometimes people do not even allow themselves sort of want to make mistakes because they want it all perfect.
I feel like you're throwing shades right now, right? I feel like this is personal, right? Because that's like
You know,
that's like
okay,
me, I'm listening, I'm listening.
but the truth is, right, is in taking that step, I'm glad that you are within the startup space, startup ecosystem. You also understand that for products, as you put it out there for your customers to use, and
Yeah,
sometimes you might not even meet their expectations. And to you, it was like the best design based off of the research you've done, the interviews, the surveys, the brainstorming session, stuff, and you created something. But what the market is saying is different. At that point, any sensible product manager, product designer, product team have to iterate.
yes, fact.
The same thing. Like, if you don't even try anything at all, how would you even know that this is not working and so I need to
True,
pivot?
true. There's a thing that I say that don't talk about the thing, just do the thing, right? Just don't talk about it, just do it. Because sometimes
Precisely.
we and I feel like in not understanding your identity most times, it kind of just like puts you up as if you don't know anything, right? You see people saying, "Oh, I don't think I can do this." You have no proof that you can't do it, right? You have zero proof that you are a failure because you've not done anything, right? They ask you to post content online to write a proposal. I give you something. See that last year, right? I like to talk about myself because sometimes when I'm going through these things here, I used to wonder what used to run through God's mind that look, I'm not your strongest soldier, right? You don't have to pass me through all these things. Like, don't choose me, choose another person. When I'm going through these things, I sit down to think for like a long time and ask myself, like, what's really going on? So, I think it was last year, I got sick, I lost a couple of clients, I couldn't deliver on some jobs, you know. And by the time it was October, I was, ready to get back on my feet. Nobody was picking my call. People I was reaching out to do stuff with me. Nobody wanted to pair with me and stuff like that. But there are strategies that I know that I haven't tried, right? So I was like, let me pick people's names online that I know I can work with and write them a proposal. And I was like, no, these people will not work with me. And that thought just came to my mind. You've not tried, sir. You have not done anything. What do you mean they will not work with you? Do you have proof now that they will not work with you? What's your proof that they won't work with you? And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to sit down and do it. And I took down 40 names and I wrote a couple of proposals. I wrote lots of proposals. I sent to the first 10. Like 6 ignored me, and then like 4 people were like, "Oh, this is amazing. Let's sit down for a meeting." And that's where it started from. Now, when I finished and closed the deals and stuff, I was like, the fact is that you don't have proof that you failed at this thing until you try. You have zero proof that you fail until you
Mm,
try. And it's the fear that,
yeah.
okay, I think it's the human, like you said, the human condition to just tell ourselves that, look, I'm just human to reduce. And you see, one of the things we don't tell ourselves is the truth. The thing that we're looking for is in the work we've not done. And we know that the work we're going to do is going to be a lot. So we tell ourselves that, well, I'm just human. I think I'm going to leave it here. Just human. I don't think I can do this thing. Because when we look at the word, I was watching, you've watched Billions, yeah?
Yes, of course.
The movie Billions. That
Yes.
movie gave me a clear view of what it costs to be a billionaire. See, this is people wake up and say, I want to be a billionaire. If you know the work these people are doing, you will run mad. It's not beans, it's not thought of. They are highly intelligent people. They are not dull, they are not foolish. They know exactly what is happening. You don't know how to handle
Yeah.
money, or you don't know how to handle time. You don't know how to handle relationships. You want to become a billionaire. It can't work. You can't pray your way to billions, right? You can't, I mean, you said something about taking action, right? I'm still even trying to do content
Yeah.
on this thing. And I realized something. God won't work with the person who says he can do the job or just, act like he can do the job. God only works with people who can actually do the job. It doesn't matter who it is. I'll give you an example. I was reading Genesis through Exodus and all the whole slavery thing, and I was trying to get how did these guys become slaves in the first place, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it takes a lot to become a slave. Like,
Yeah.
how do you walk yourself into 400 years of slavery? And I decided to go back to read about these people. The people of
Mm.
Israel were always helped. Let me call it their spoiled children, right? They were always helped. So they don't understand how to really work for stuff, right? Because God
Yeah.
was always with them. Now, but this is the thing that God realized. God realized that look, there's famine and there's famine that is coming. I used to say
Mm.
that God couldn't stop the famine. And I realized something. In this life, there are things that will happen that's not sweet for anybody, but you cannot change it, and God is not going to change it. The moment you make up your mind that those things exist, you stop worrying about life and getting scared about a lot of things. Famine was coming
Yeah.
and God came to announce it. But the thing is, he didn't tell his own children. He went to somebody that was probably serving stone and gave him the dream, right? Gave Pharaoh the dream. And Pharaoh had that dream. But the good thing was God took somebody out of Israel and took him to Egypt. The Egyptians, they are action people. They might not want to talk about God. They're not interested in God, but they are fast moving people, action takers. They don't waste time with any talk cock and bull story. When God took Joseph from Israel to Egypt, he didn't put him anywhere else. He put him in a manager's house. In a manager's house. In a manager's house. Look, 90% of the results you're not getting is because there's no management. People think I'm managing
Yeah.
is I'm suffering. Any management that does not bring increase is not management.
Mm.
Any
Yeah.
management that doesn't bring increase is not management. He puts him in a manager's house, tested him both in the rich and in the poor, in the prison, in both eras of life. So I want you to understand, like, you should be very aware of things that are happening to you. They're not happening to you because you're a bad person or you're just making bad decisions. Sometimes these things happen to you because of where you're going to. And you have to be aware of
Mm.
it. I stopped getting angry at, for example, there are beliefs I no longer have. Beliefs of delay, beliefs of near miss. I don't have those belief systems again. Because what how do you Elon Musk, for instance, took 12 years to launch his first ship successful, right?
Mm.
And over
Mm.
120 billion spent. Is it delay? Elon Musk was not
No.
going to church. He just kept trying. What's this guy's name that did electricity? 1,000 patents. The guy that did
Thomas
the bulb
Edison.
thing. Yeah, 1,000 patents. How do you submit 1,000 patents for 1,000 times? Picasso did about 10,000 drawings. These guys didn't believe in any, there's no spirit somewhere holding their life to ransom and saying they will not get somewhere. It's just life. You just have to add resilience, grit, and just keep fighting till you get to where you want to get to. Now, back to my story. Now, when God gave the dream to Pharaoh, the first thing Pharaoh did was to look for people that can solve his problem. Pharaoh did not go and, so I'm not discouraging anybody from praying, but Pharaoh did not go and consult his gods. Pharaoh said, I have people specific for this thing. When you have a problem, it is a problem. Acknowledge that it is a problem. Find the
Yes.
people who can solve that problem. Look, my mentor used to tell me something, that if you have problem with mathematics, instead of praying for God to give you wisdom, go for math lessons. You understand it. It's faster. Don't waste your time. And Joseph came. When Joseph came, Joseph understood that I am a child of God. There's a way a child of God should not look like. Simple. Plenty of us like to tell everybody that we are suffering. We like to look like our bank account, right? So when we are going to go and meet one Oga, we dress with color that the color has torn in 15 different ways, and we go there and we start crying and shedding tears, and they give us stipend and we go. Nobody brings us into the circle. Nobody tries to, give us information and all of that. And he gave this to Joseph, right? Joseph said, look, hold on, please. Let me go and shave. Let me go and treat myself before I appear before the king. When he appeared before the king, he gave his own solutions. He added that, oh, this is how they solve this problem. The king said, I did not see anybody to solve this thing except you. Who can handle this thing except you? And then he became the governor of the place. 7 years of plenty, finished. 7 years of famine, finished. The Israelites were still coming back for grain. My question is, you were collecting grain. Did you forget to plant? Was there a rule that there was no planting? Because how come these guys still had enough to keep feeding you guys and the rest of the world? Until they started exchanging their properties and all the things that they have for food. And then they entered slavery. You don't have anything to give now. You now work. That's where slavery starts from. So most people think that all of a sudden, even sometimes the way the Bible started, that a king who did not know Joseph, the way he put it, like as if it's the guy's fault. These guys had nothing to offer. And sometimes to help people who have nothing to offer from becoming miscreants and criminals, you give them work to do. You give them work to do. So the Israelites did not know that as children of God, there's a way you act. There are things you are aware. You're not a beggar. Joseph had to get out of that place to understand. To realize that you're not a beggar. You are a solution provider. Once you are aware of these things, you're aware of your strengths. Some people don't know, they've not sat down to ask themselves, what are you good at? What are you good at? This year is going to make it 6 years of my brand. My brand is going to be 6 years, or it's 6 years this year already. And one of the things that helped me at the beginning stage was I knew I could talk. And there's no way I enter that people will not notice that I'm there. And I'm not talking nonsense. I'm going to speak, right? When I was going to start my brand, when I was going to start meeting people for business, my superpower was talking, right? I could talk. But there are things I can't do, like maybe say I can't swim or something. So you can't catch me going out with people that can swim or any of those things. You have to get to that place in your life where you tell yourself, I am who God says I am. So you even have to read the instructions to know who God says you are, right? Do you know, Amaya, I was sitting down late last month. I was just, going through my thing, and there was a Bible verse that kept popping up on my Instagram. It just kept popping up and popping up and popping up and popping up. And it was become what you be. I think Amaya is frozen. Are you there? Okay, she's back on. It was Matthew 9:29, and in the Message translation, it says, "Become what you believe." That entire thing changed the way I look at a lot of things, right? So when I'm doing something, it is, what's my belief about this thing? Do I believe I have failed? Do I believe I will win? Do I believe I'm scared? Do I believe? And whatever you believe, we're still getting to the mind. Whatever you believe that's what's going to happen. You can't even do anything outside your belief system. So, go sit down tonight as you're going through, your day, your month, the rest of the month. Sit down and ask yourself, like, who am I really? Who am I? And who you are is not where you walk. Who am I? What kind of person am I? Where do I have my strengths? Where do I have my weaknesses? What am I capable of? And most importantly, what does God say about me? Once you understand that, you cannot have problem with self-awareness and all of that. I want to talk about something, right? I see people talk about, I don't have time, right? And they keep complaining about what they've not done without doing it. How do people get out of that phase where they are like, look, you tell somebody to apply for something. I don't have time. 4 years have passed. The age has gone from 36 to 40. Nothing achieved, still in the same, I don't have time, and they're still complaining. How do people move from that mindset? Because we have a lot of people whose lives are disappearing. We have a lot. Let's take, for instance, married people. I believe I have some married people here. Married people, when they get married, they think their life is gone, like it's dead. They're just going to focus on kids. How do people get to the level where, while they have a lot of things going on in their life, they're still able to do more?
Fantastic. That's like a really beautiful question. So I think that in this conversation, there are some very integral things we have to look at, right? So the first concept will be value, right? So, what as a person, as an individual, what do you value? So let's start there. So I wouldn't give like a dictionary definition of value, but personally, I consider value as your uh, ethical code of conduct, right? How you sort of the things that sort of drives your life, the things that sort of
Mm.
drives your decisions, the principles that you hinge your life on, right? So for a person that in so many ways than not, they value growth, that conversation of I don't have time would not necessarily be a conversation
Hmm.
because life abhors vacuum, right? You will see
Yeah.
that if you look back, salesman, in fact, let's say 10 years ago, you were not salesman Obi, but you were Obi.
Yes.
But you at some point in your journey, you decided that you wanted to, okay, I know I can sell and I want to focus on this. I know I can market and I want to focus on this. I know I can do this. I want to focus on this. And so with that single decision, it might not have been that you sat down and then, sort of calculated how your life experience was going to pan out. But I can tell you for free that one of your core values is growth. And that's why
Yes.
you have evolved over the last couple of years. So if we start out that conversation of I don't have time, that's like we're trying to tackle the branches without going to the roots. The roots first is as a
Mm.
person, what are the values that drive your life? And that's something you have to sit down with yourself and decide. I can't tell you what it is. You have to sit down with yourself. And typically, the easy way to know what you value, scripture will tell us in Matthew 6, where a man's treasure is, that's where his heart will be. Categorically, look at the things that you spend your time, your energy, and your resources on. You will know what you value.
Mm.
So you can't tell me
True.
that you're aspiring to grow, to evolve, to be greater, and you're not even in any shape or form investing in that. What are you doing? So you just talk is cheap. That's what
Mm.
it is. So once we've set you up to know what you value, that's the basics. Then, in terms of then saying management, in economics, we are taught something called scale of preference. We are taught opportunity cost. So it's
Yes.
not a question of if I keep assuming this position or this posture that I have right now, what do I think is going to cost me in another 5 years? If I don't choose to move right now, what is it going to cost me in another 5 years?
That's
What's
that's a
the
very valid question.
what is it going to cost me? So what am I going to say? If you're a parent, what are you going to say to your kids in 5 years? What's your excuse? Then, of course, see, you're not see. It's excuses are good reasons for bad results because there's always somebody somewhere that has more things on their plate than you, but they chose to push through. So it then depends. Yes. So typically, you can't be everything to everyone, but that thing that you must be the best of it. So if you're saying, okay, the
True.
person is a parent, right? What happens to delegation? What
Mm.
can you delegate? What can you outsource? The important thing is that the thing you need to be done gets done. It doesn't mean it has to be done by you.
Mm.
You're a parent. Who says you have to be the one to do the laundry in your house? Who says you have to be the one to do the domestic, maybe cleaning and whatever? You can outsource that. Or if you say, oh, I don't have the resource to outsource that, your spouse needs to come in handy and help.
Mm.
And so
That's
I just said that because you said the context of marriage, right?
yes.
In 2021, I did a training, family engineering, right? After I had just done my NLP certification. So one of the things I learned in that class is that as a family, right, your family has to have a vision and a mission. The same way your life has to have a mission and a vision, the way your business has to have a mission and a vision, your family, your unit has to have a mission and a vision. And that mission and vision statement is what guides the activity of that unit.
Hmm.
So these are like conversations that I think people need to have with themselves. Because
People are not generally being honest though, because what you've just said, about excuses are good reasons for bad results, right? We like to, and I think it boils down to the work that needs to be done. Right? We're scared of the work that needs to be done because it means that we need to embrace our faults, and human beings don't like embracing their faults. We don't like when we are the problem, People keep pointing fingers and all of that. You see, sometimes when, let's say, let me use an example, relationships fail, for instance, people don't step back and say, where did I go wrong? Right? Everybody's always like, oh, that person was bad to me. This person was evil and all of that. Like, you're one saint like that. We all know you're not the saint, right? So we need to get to that level. I mean, I really, really appreciate what you just said about this because it gives a clear picture of, I mean, delegating things is something that we Africans, we feel like carrying all the work in our head gives us some kind of satisfaction. Like,
so let me tell you this. Growing up, right? Um,
yeah,
growing up, if you ever had the time where you sort of go visit family, like maybe Yuletide season, so a lot of family members that you don't see, they all come together and stuff, and so you get to see
yeah,
your cousins, aunties, your uncles that you normally would not see, right? And so there was this day that within the family house, grandparents' house, I had seen my uncle, sort of apply like shaving cream and was just like shaving and stuff and stuff. So I now went to my dad. I said, I've seen your brother. He just used to just, do shaving cream and shave, but I've never seen you do that. Why? Like, why? And my dad told me, like, I have other things to do with my time. Like, and besides, there are people that this is what they need to survive on. By grooming me, that's how they earn a living. So I wouldn't want to deprive them of that.
yeah,
Plus the fact that I don't have the time for that. That's not a top priority. If it can be delegated, it should be delegated, right? But there are things that cannot be delegated, like things like being involved in your child's life. That cannot be delegated.
yes,
Being actively involved in your spouse's life, that cannot be delegated. Your own spiritual growth, that cannot be delegated. Your own personal growth, that cannot be delegated. But there are so many mundane miniature tasks that can be delegated. So why not
true.
delegate those things? Right? So there's this thing of in terms of time management, where you say, oh, there's a particular thing that is urgent and important, and there's a thing that is important and urgent. The thing that is not
Mm-hmm.
important or urgent. So sometimes
Important and
people
not
really
urgent.
exactly people just sort of not mix everything together.
True,
So for
true.
instance,
This,
for instance, if let's say I don't even know why did you even bring up this thing now. I'm trying to just use I don't know why I keep using like family examples, but I'll use it still. So let's say that um for a mother, she has to sort of maybe prepare dinner and stuff and stuff, and that's going to take her like a long time. Maybe the whole dinner, the whole food prep and ish, it's going to take her a long time, right? And so she has that option of having to actually make that dinner from scratch that evening, or she can maybe defrost maybe stew or soup that she already has and maybe boil rice or make a bar or something right? But that still saves her time and energy, where she still has enough time to still sort of engage with her child, like, oh, how was school today? What happened? Da 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 da, homework and stuff, right? But some people are like, I'm really, I really said I wanted to have afang this night. I have to have afang this night. But afang can wait. You can definitely make that afang tomorrow when your child goes to school or something. It doesn't have to be this night. So by the time you take your time to do that, you no longer have the time or energy to then engage with your child, which is top priority. I was saying to someone, uh, I was in the salon yesterday where I made my hair, and a lady came in, and one conversation led to another. In salons they always bring conversations in salons. Just it's a place for just free gist. So the stylist said, "Oh, this lady that came in, she has like six. She has like this baby I'm seeing with her that is on the diaper. Also has a baby. Like there's another baby that's like maybe 2 months, and the baby we're talking about is like a year, and there's another one that's already 2 months." I was like, oh, she just literally, got married, and maybe because typically when people have their first child, the 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 spacing between the first and the next one is not so much. It's like, oh, maybe it's like a second kid. It's like, no, it's like 6. This, and they were saying like, oh, this is like her 6th child, and I was like, in this economy, why would someone be having 6 kids in this economy? And that was not just it. The issue was that, oh, the lady lives in a single bed apartment with her husband and a total of like 8 people, making a total of 10 people together. And I was like, I didn't even know how to feel, because for starters, I was saying to the lady that was making my hair that most of the menace that we see in society is just a function of things happening within the family unit. If some things can be tackled within the family unit, a lot of the things that we have in society, we would not have them. I said, how can 10 people be living in one room? How can 10 people be living in one room? 8 kids and 2 parents. The husband is a security guard. The lady
That's
has
what
like,
they can afford now. Hey.
But you see, how are they going to
That's what they can afford.
How are they going to come out of poverty?
They are not. There's no plan.
Those guys are going to go on the streets, probably selling drugs, join bad gang, whatever it is. The daughters might give into prostitution, because that's like, to them, that's like an easy route to get money, rather than maybe learning a skill. Or education has to then be by support, because parents can afford it. But you see that it was just a sequence of decisions that were just made. I can't even explain it.
It's like people telling, I mean, I'm getting old, right? I'm getting old. All of you have been saying that I'm getting old, that I should go and marry. And I'm like, if I should go and marry, people will give me money to take care of it. They're like, no, don't worry. The Lord will take care of it. Where is the Lord? Who is the Lord? The Lord will now provide for 12 children. Eh?
No,
I'll be crying.
You are made in the image and likeness of God, so you will do that. So I said to the lady, I said that when you see wealthy people having 2 or 3 kids max, do you think that they don't know how to procreate? It's not. Having kids is a financial decision.
Yes.
Prior to this inflation rate that we have in this country, you would need at least, prior to 2024, like 2022, 2023, you would need at least 60 to 75 million to train a child from kindergarten to uni. Like quality education, quality life.
That's like 300 million now.
With inflation, I don't even want to talk about what the digits are.
It's crazy. So I feel like what you just said. Part of the things that people need to start doing is being accountable to the choices that they make. I always tell people that life is 3 things. life is your perception, your choices, and consequences, right? You have to ask yourself that this thing that I'm doing or I want to do, is this how it's supposed to be done? And if I make this choice, what are the consequences that follow through? Right? There are things that should it shouldn't cross your mind. There are things you shouldn't do. And I feel like when people think like this, there's a lot of progress we'll make in society because everyone will now be accountable for their actions, accountable for the things that they do. When you see people who I saw a video of a guy who died in the UK this week, right? Because he couldn't pay his school fees, was working 8 jobs, And while I'm sad, right, I still ask myself, didn't he think about this thing before moving? Or like, do we just listen to people's pressure because what we want to meet somebody's standard, or we think that we need to move to a certain place, we need to get to a certain place? The Bible says, before a man builds his house, he will first check to see if he can bear the cost from start to finish. You are not Nehemiah. You are not funded by the king. Let me say something to us here around. Be honest about your edge. Be honest about your advantage and disadvantage.
Yeah.
If someone was born with trust fund of 500 million naira, you are not on the same level. You got to be honest. I give you an example, right? There's this kid in secondary school. There's this kid who's very intelligent guy, right? Really intelligent guy. I just joined the school in SS1, and he told me about this guy, that this guy used to carry first. He's been carry first is just 1 to just 3. I was like, who's the nigga, right? Who's this guy? I want to see this guy. So he wasn't in school first time, right? Didn't come to school first time. I think he was sick or something. And somebody else took first. I came like 6th in the class, And then he came to school second time and took first. And I was like, oh, okay. This is real. This is not a joke. And I noticed something. He doesn't have notes. His advantage is, as long as he listens in class, he's never going to fail. Right? People, they say they have photogenic brain. And once they see something, they are not forgetting it. I don't have that. I have to read and write for me to understand. So the way I was able to take that first position for third term was simply by reading. So when people are playing sports, I sit down in my class, I join extra classes, I go and meet my seniors. I read like he was my only competition. And then when I came first, I was like, okay, cool. Now I've gotten it right. It's not so much of a clean state. But one of the things that I realized was that I was very honest about my edge. I don't have a photogenic brain. I'm not the smartest kid in the block, right? I could be, but I wasn't as at that time, right? So I had to keep my notes in order, make sure I submit my assignments, read my book, don't miss any tests. You got to be honest about your edge in life. If you know you're not from a home that everybody went to school, try and go to school first. Don't go and start doing business and try to struggle with everybody. If you know that you don't have money to do some things, build relationship with people, serve people. Yes. Serve people. There are advantages I didn't have based on decisions that I made, right? I was telling somebody that this will make it, is it 6-7 years now that I left school and stuff like. When I was leaving school, there's a notion people have about those who drop out of school, right? Like they can never, especially if you're in Nigeria, they can never make it. Those ones, they will smoke, drink, and I already understood that nobody was going to give a damn about me anymore. Not my parents, not people around me. My only solution was to be a fool for knowledge. I was going to learn everything possible. I was going to fight my way through. I wasn't going to start, complaining, oh, Nigeria is bad, things are tough, that's why I can't make it. And there was no money in school, which was, those things are there. But understanding that, look, this is where I am today. What choices can I make to move? And I said to make those choices. And I'm so glad that they actually did work out, right? They actually made sense. It gives me that reality that, look, you are a product of your choices. You have to be able to make good choices if you want results. They say your choices will always overshadow your prayer points. You can pray Lord, help me. Lord, give me grace to do business, to succeed in life. But they did business seminar. You say you are not going because you are tired. They say come for
Mm.
incubation class. You say that you are too young for it. Somebody paid for business class for you. You are like you don't have strength for it. They ask you to come and learn a skill. I don't have time. And you keep praying. Even your silence is a choice. That's why I tell people that look, every single day you wake up, it's a choice. You're
Yeah.
caught in between being successful or not, being smart or not, being dull or not, being ignorant or
Yeah.
not. You have to constantly make that choice. So you must tell yourself every single day of your life, what
Yeah.
choices am I making that are moving my life forward? What choices am I making that are moving my life backwards? And this cuts through all parts of life. Cuts through all parts of life. You have to be
Yeah.
honest about your edge.
Yes.
That kid that you are following that has, his father is a big boy. Your father doesn't have the big name. Be
Yeah.
honest about it. Don't go and be raising shoulder. Don't go and be raising shoulder. Your father doesn't, don't get angry at the fact that somebody's father already did his work and stuff. Do your own. Don't get annoyed. It's like people in business. Now let's switch to money now. Trying to sell some products in Nigeria is complete waste of time because as Nigerians we haven't gotten to that level of, I'll call it, exposure. It's like somebody who is coaching people on how to train teenagers. It's a good product, valid product, but let's be honest, in Nigeria, how many parents want to listen to another person tell them how to train their children, especially Nigerians? You want to be telling a Nigerian mother that she cannot be slapping her daughter every time her daughter does something that looks like disrespect, or a Nigerian mother that she cannot be beating her son like a thief anytime he goes out and does not come back on time. There are things that are not peculiar to us. So if you know that you're starting, that shouldn't be your starting point. Look for a product that is hot in the market. You can try
Mm.
something on mental health, something on marriage, something on fixing relationships. That will work rather than training and all of that, because there are some things we're not used to. The same with the workplace. We same with let me use relationship for instance. Be honest about your age. No, there's I was watching in Aboeji of
Yes.
Andela. So I was
Yes.
watching his one podcast like that he was doing with some venture guys. They were asking him questions and how he makes decisions and stuff. It's like I always check my burn rate, right? If the amount of money I spend in a month is like $5,000, and I like you, and I see that your burn rate is $10,000, we are not aligned. Do you understand? We cannot fall in love. You got to
Mm.
be honest. A lot of problems we're having today is because people are not honest about their age. You see a girl on the road. Her hair is your 4 months salary. Her shoe is 3 months salary. She's driving a car that are using keke. You not go and meet her somewhere, maybe in an event, and say I like you. That's a lot of confidence. We appreciate you, but you are biting more than you can chew. You're not being honest. And then when they insult you or rubbish you or demand for money that is your savings, your entire savings, you are screaming on the internet. It's because most people are not honest about where they are, about their edge. You're not even honest about the things that are happening around you. You see
Mm.
somebody, you are in a relationship, the guy says, I'll slap you, you are smiling. Then tomorrow we slap you are surprised. I don't understand. I don't get it. So you have to come to that level where you're conscious, you're honest, you are accountable. You tell yourself, I will do this thing, and then you show up for that. If you're not sure for that thing, you try your best to do that thing. Tell yourself, look, I got to get this thing done. If you're not, you don't have enough strength to push yourself, get friends, find friends, become friendly, become valuable. Now, let me tell you, when I see people that say, I'm not so much of a friend person, I know you have nothing to offer. It's not possible that you are a valuable person and you don't have something to offer. You don't have friends. I've never seen somebody who is valuable that does not have friends. It's not possible. Because see, even the Bible says, he that wants a friend must show themselves friendly. Most of us think it's about smiling and eating, and hi is about emotions. It's about what you have to offer.
Yeah.
When your friends have problem, can they call you?
Mm.
When see solutions, can they involve you? When things are going bad in the society, can they stand on ground that this guy can solve their problem? or can solve the country's problem, can they recommend you? You say, oh, I'm not the friendly type. Oh, I'm not a person that really likes people like that. And you're wondering why your life is slow. You are looking for fun for business. Nobody call your number. You call somebody, they cut your call. Some people have saved your number as missed call on their phone. They don't want to talk to you because what, you don't have nothing to offer. When they say must show thyself first friendly, you must show yourself very valuable. This life is value exchange.
Yeah.
If the first day I spoke to Amaya and I'm like, "How far, Amaya? How you doing now? What's up? Where are you now?" You're like, Coach Obi, how you doing? I saw I heard about you on the group, and so I'm like, I'm going to this club, or turn up, we outside, you know. Amaya will be like, okay, you'll be outside on your own. All right, sir. Thank you. Do enjoy the rest of your day, and that'll be end of it. But I remember our first conversation was like 3 hours. Because like there was so much to talk about. There was a lot of value exchange. There are a lot of things that started after that conversation. You had to get to that place where you know what works for you and you are valuable enough to attract those things. Some people are not from rich homes, but they all have rich people around them, wealthy people, people with resources, people that when they call names, they answer to this person because what is valuable? It's valuable. Every king respects his baba. Every king, if your baba say raise your head up, you will raise your head up because he has to do his job. Why? Because it's valuable to that king. But you that is a common servant cannot tell the king, you can say raise your head up and your own head will come down. It's like that. So we need as people, part of what Amaya said, stop making excuses. Be honest. This is who I am. This is what I don't have. This is what I have. And fly. Don't waste time. Make right choices. While we're talking about accountability, I want to talk about pain.
Obi,
right?
Before we go there, I know that you're blazing hot and you're on fire right now. I strongly believe that there are people on this call that it shouldn't look like what you're saying is going over their heads, right? Um, it's one thing to actually have a problem and then know that you have a problem. So if what you have is a problem and you don't acknowledge it as a problem, you wouldn't see the need to want to fix it.
True.
And so even when you now know that you have a problem, the next challenge is what is the most suitable solution for this problem? Because even in the solutions, there are different variants. So if you don't, it's like when you're treating for bacteria or fungi or virus. There are different variants of the bacteria or fungi or virus. If you treat with the one that is not with the strand of that particular one, you won't get cured.
You can get stronger. The problem can get stronger.
Exactly. So while we're telling people that I don't want things to go over people's head today, like when we're telling them, be valuable, be responsible, be accountable, I think that a good element we want to infuse into that is how.
Okay.
How to be valuable. So the first thing I would say to you is the easiest way to be valuable is that have an eye that spots problem and offer the solution. Have an eye. Sometimes people are able to capture an issue, and rather than them positioning themselves as solution providers, they position themselves as critic
or complainers.
Exactly. Nobody ever gets awarded for being the most critical person, except your criticality is critical thinking. Nobody gets awarded for that. I was watching an interview the other day with that they interviewed Obama, and he was saying, somebody asked him, and it was like, how do you know a person that would really go far, like, or a person that would do well or turn out well in like within the workspace and things? He said, just be the guy that spots problem and solve it. Like, be the guy that takes burdens off of people. Be the guy that makes people's lives easier. And even as a business person, you know that typically businesses, it's either we're serving you faster, we're helping you solve convenience, we're helping you have a better experience. That's it.
Solution exchange.
So that's just it. That's it. So don't allow this conversation go by. So how do I become a valuable person? When you spot an issue, and you have the competencies to handle it, go for it.
See,
Go for it.
to add to that, you said something about, if you have an eye for problems, and you should provide solutions. See, some people don't have eye for problems. They don't see nothing. And part of the reasons people don't see nothing is because of sometimes the environment. It's like somebody who has never seen an air condition before. They are used to it. They cook in the house, the gas in the house. When they go out, they stand close to the fire. Everything is hot, 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 hot. There's no way you're explaining something cool to the person that they get your point. They don't have that experience. And if you're hearing about problem solving, solution solving, all of that, the first thing to do is to find, seek, and you'll find. Do research. Sometimes people look for problem. If you're an investor in this life, or you want to become an investor, investors' number one work is what? They are finding problem. They sit in their house and ask themselves, what problem is available? They can't see it right now, right? They have money, but they can't see what problem is available to solve. What do? They start asking people. Good afternoon. I have $50 million. So what problem can we solve? Also go to Africa. They have food problem. They have finance problem. They have this. And then he takes his money and brings it down to Africa. They have health problem. They have this. They have that. If you know genuinely that, okay, look, I want to become valuable, but I don't even know where to start from. Amaya says you solve problem, but some of you genuinely don't even know what a problem looks like. Look at your surrounding. What are the things that really put people in pain? What are the things that you don't like? Sometimes go out, sometimes travel. I used to say something that you see people who spend time in matters that don't help anybody, like things like racism, nepotism, tribalism. Honestly, they've not traveled. That's all I can say. They've not gone outside to see that the world doesn't revolve around them, right?
Yeah.
When you go out and you see how people behave, you see the problems in the world, you understand that your problem is basic, right? You want bothering about your piece of land is very minute. There are people who have not seen water. You even appreciate the one that you have. Look for problems, Google problems, look for problems. And we've come to a generation where if you fail, it's your fault. You have access to information that the world has not seen, like never before. So you take something like ChatGPT, for instance, and it puts what are the problems currently going on in the US and how can I solve them? What are the problems going on in the UK and how can I solve them? What are problems in Africa? How can I solve them? How many have been solved? Who is solving this problem? Like you can do so much. So if you're not seeing, you cannot even solve anything. You don't know where to start from. Look for problem. You will find, and when you find, start solving them. That's how you become valuable, right? That's how you become valuable. And when you become valuable, oh my, there's nobody that can reject you. I always use Nehemiah as an example. Nehemiah had to be so valuable for the king to pay attention to his mood. You know what it means for your king to ask, why are you frowning today now? You have to be a serious servant in that place. You have to be doing your work well. For somebody who is heading one of the most wicked nations in the world to be looking at your face, and you say, oh, my king, I want to go and rebuild. I see the kind of mindset that Nehemiah had. If you know, see, you have to be. I think we human beings, or we Nigerians, we need to be honest about where we are. Growing up, for instance, right? I grew up in the north. And disclaimer, every information in this country gets to the dot last. If music trend today in Lagos, it will reach Kano in 4 months' time. So there are some things that I didn't like really learn very fast because it was coming to us like really late. But I had an opportunity to travel. Like I travel a lot, right? So travel around Nigeria, and I got to the west, and I saw that somewhere like Lagos is where things happening. We have places like Ibadan, Akure. Things were happening in those places. Boys who are coming up in different industries. I mean, there's no hub in Nigeria that's hotter than Lagos. I mean, no bias or anything, but that place is hot. And I knew that I wasn't familiar with quite a number of things. Right, there's a lot of technology I wasn't familiar with, lots of languages, tones. There's some what's the word now? There's some words that they use in different industries, right?
Yes.
So it's like when we are talking about churn rates. What's your churn when you're doing business? First time I had churn, I thought the person was making a sound, right? Or what's your burn rate? I went to go and check what's the killing, what is this? There's some things we were not learning. But my advice, my approach to it wasn't that these people are bigger than me. There's nothing I can do. My approach is, how do I get close to these people? What can I do for them? Can I learn something that they can be useful to them? Can I learn something that can help them or something? And you see, the thing is, once you start to think about how to solve problems for other people, because one of the things that don't make us stay accountable is that we are selfish. We think it's about us, and so we're just doing. But when you start thinking about how to solve another person's problem, there are steps you take. For example, now if I start saying, how can I mean, I'm building a TV, for instance. I've always had problem with learning. There are people who need to understand there are different ways of learning, right? Not everybody will learn by sitting in class. People will learn with videos, some people will learn by reading, some people will learn by writing, some people will learn by talking, right? I've always wanted to change how education works. But there's no way I'm going to do that if I don't understand anything about technology, anything about science, anything about, the way learning works online. First thing I do, I start buying course to even see what it looks like. Then I start approaching people, making people in that industry my friend, attending events, getting to see how I learned product design in the process. This is a full-blown skill, right? In the process, I learned web design, learned all these things. And you start saying, how do I solve people's problem? So you get to that place where you're telling yourself, how can I be of value to people? And you start seeing the changes in yourself. Stop being selfish. God didn't create you for you. God created you for people. And the more someone said to me, this was 2016, was like a big sister in uni. So I was at her place and we were talking about a lot of ideas and stuff. This is me in 100 level, 2015, 16, trying to figure out my life, and I like computers a lot. So I was telling her, if I can build this, I can build this. I was like, but why see me that I have to do this thing? Well, see me, I'm not doing it again. I'll just read my book and get out of this school. And she said, if you give up on your dreams, if you give up on your vision, there are 7,000 people on earth who would amount to nothing because of you. I said, what happened? Why do you want to scare me? And she's like, no, the way God does things is, God is not going to come down and start handing money out or start handing apps to people. It's people that will build it. The decision you refuse to make today, the step you refuse to take today, somebody else is out there suffering for it. Some villages are out there going through hell because you didn't do nothing. Hey, we are doing this live stream because somebody, a lady, a black woman, sat down and wrote the program for video calling. You don't know how to do that. You don't know the stress, all the talks, all the backbiting. What do you think you are doing? You are a woman. What do you know? When do you enter technology? That got her to this point. But if she didn't do that, we won't be enjoying any of this. So you must know that, look, Amaya said your royalty. There's expectation. As a king's son, we're expecting you to go out and go on. In those days, if you are a king's son, it's even a terrible place to be because you are supposed to surmount your father. You are supposed to be, if your father killed 50 kings, you are supposed to come back with 500. So by 15, you're already fighting. So your royalty, now you understand your identity, you're self-aware. You need to get out there. You need to know that, look, I'm unstoppable and I work for God. I always tell people that I work for God. I don't waste money because I have to answer to God. God handles everything in my life. So I work for him. In everything I'm doing, I'm conscious about every single thing that I'm doing because I work for him. So get to that place where, I might have told you guys, become valuable, solve problems. Me, I'm telling you, if you cannot solve problems, go and look for problems to solve. That's how you get it in life. Thank you very much, Amaya. I wanted to say something about pain, right? Let me start by saying pain is a necessity. It's not punishment. It's necessity. And I feel like I can't trust anybody that's not gone through pain. Like if you've never gone through pain, me, I'm not. There's no way there's no way I'm joking with you. Don't laugh with me. We are not the same level. Because I want to correct a notion that God punishes us with pain. No, pain is a gift because pain wakes you up. Pain
Mm.
shows you what you can withstand. Pain opens your eyes to things you would not normally see. You would not know your capacity to. Somebody said, I'm the forgiving type. They've not run you streets before. That's why. I'm the forgiving type. Me, I don't hold grudges. Till your best friend is now married to your guy that you were just talking to. I saw that trash now. Then you know if you're a forgiving person. Or somebody that you gave money to tell you they can't return your money because the business that they did it did not work. And you are like, I don't understand. Or you're helping somebody and the person is feeling entitled. Or you applied for a job 1,000 times and got rejected. Pain is a necessity. You can never handle much more than the pain that you've gone through. People who are looking for some kind of progress in life, ask yourself, what level of pain have I gone through? And I tell you, people have gone through, I don't think there exists a person. Jesus is a clear example. I can't die for you people. Based on the things that Jesus went through, I'm not dying for nobody, right? Because when you look at the entire resurrection story, salvation is pure pain. Jesus took all of that and died with it so that we can have life. If you are going to have life in anything, wait for pain. Don't run from pain. It's a necessity. You get to that place where you're telling yourself, what's the thing that's going to happen when I make this decision? Do I want to go through it? And then go through it. Don't run. The thing I don't like about pain is that it doesn't matter how far you run, it's going to catch up with you. As long as you're going to be going somewhere. You're going to drive, right? It's like driving. Driving comes with its own. If you drive a long journey, it comes with its own stress, hand pains, and all of that. There's no amount of, unless you take somebody else's car, then you didn't drive. But if you're going to drive to a place, you have to risk, holding that, going through that pain. But don't see pain as punishment. I promise you, God is not somewhere sitting down and carving up methods to punish you. His thoughts of you are of good. Whether you are dying, they are of good and not of evil. Amaya said we should not make it mundane so that it does not flow over your head. Right?
So yeah, as we talk about pain, right? It's a valid point. But also, I think that depending on the diversity of the audience that we have, right? I would like to reframe it. And it's still the same concept. And why I want to reframe it is because there's so much association that people attach to words. And so even with words, we have to then put things in context.
Yes.
But
I just understood what you're saying.
Yeah, but typically the average person is the one word means everything in every scenario, but that's not what it is.
True. Yes.
So I'm still going to say the same thing that will be said, but I'm going to say it this way. Pain is mandatory, but suffering is optional.
Yes.
And so there's something, pain is mandatory, but something is optional. There's something I just put up on my status. I said, nothing is free. Everything has a price, but not all the price are labeled on the item.
Yes.
So if you take it as the twist is, every greatness you want to amount to has a price tag. And so that price tag is what in the Nigerian space we know kanayo for sacrifice. So because even with Jesus' story, Scripture will tell us that for the joy that was set before him, he endured the pain of the cross. That was sacrifice. He had to die. So it's that, take it as, I know some people will hear pain now. They'll start palpitating. Can I do it? Can I do it? Can I do it? No. It's that's it. So you just have to reframe it. Okay, it's a sacrifice. Okay, I have to give up this to get this. It's still the same thing. It's like all those parents that want to give their kids what's it called? Like maybe medicine, and they put it into their feeding bottle. And so the child will think that it's like the milk, but that's the drug. I've seen somebody put the drug in Capri Sun and gave the child to sip. So
That's where trust issues start from there.
So take it to be that I'm giving you soft landing. That in life, greatness comes at a cost. And so there's a bit of sacrifice that has to go into it. So sometimes you would sacrifice your ego. Sometimes you have to sacrifice your ignorance. Sometimes you have to sacrifice your laziness. Sometimes you have to sacrifice your indiscipline. Sometimes you have to sacrifice your lack of responsibility. Because the truth is, what makes an adult is the fact that you are now grown and you take responsibility. That's what it is. Everything in life is like, everything in life is like, I'll try to liken it to the gym. So I think last month, I was saying to someone that I've been going to the gym. Like I'm not even seeing anything that that. So in saying that, the person then asked me a question. And I said, I've been going now, but it's not for long. I said, okay. But you're going and you're comparing yourself to someone that's been going to the gym for like 3 years consistently. No, your journey and their journey is quite different. So in the days where I want to quit, I'll put the picture of the ID body image in my front and then say, okay, this greatness requires that sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's painful. You've gone to the gym now? Have you come out from leg day and you are doing as if they need to give you walking stick? That's pain, but that's sacrifice too. Like you can't take too much refined sugar because you have a goal. It's sacrifice. Mm-hmm. I was seeing a tweet yesterday. The person said, the results you have in your 30s are a function of decisions you made in your 20s. The results you will have in your 40s are a function of decisions you make in your 30s. So for every stage in life, there are some choices you have to make. That's just it. Sacrifice. People don't like Kanayo, but I like him without mean that they do on X with him. Like sacrifice. Greatness requires sacrifice. As a business person, sacrifice. It's sacrifice that your first the people that do business, you know that there's a difference between your revenue and your profit. Revenue is the entire money. Mm-hmm. Profit is like we take out our expense, what's left. So your revenue is not your profit. In fact, that's a busy area. We'll talk about it. But a wise business person knows that my profit, I have to put it back to the business. And that's not the time to go and splurge because you're growing something. Mm-hmm. It's painful at that point in time. It's like you're seeing money, but the money is not your money. Mm-hmm. Because you're building. It's not your money. No, because you're building something. So is it painful at that time? Of course it is, but it's sacrifice. It's sacrifice. So even when you then talk about the whole mindset thing now, or your mind, I think one phenomenal book I recommend to anybody here as regards money and mindset, go get T. Ecker's Secret of Millionaire Mind. Just talks about, wealth files, how rich people think about money and how average people think about money. He talks about the fact that wealthy people see opportunity where, the non-wealthy people see problems.
I mean, they can only see cash. They can only see money. There's no. I was at a program. Was it last year? Yeah, it was 2023, Wait, there's this lady they call Adejoke Lasisi. Do you know her? She does bags, clothes, and stuff like that with pure
Ankara.
water sachet.
Oh
Pure
yeah,
water
yeah,
sachet.
PR, PR, yeah,
Yeah,
PR.
and bars, yes. Yeah. And and what was the takes there? When people pour dirt during rain, everything stops in front of her shop. And she does that shaky. And she doesn't like it. And then she started to look for, how do I solve this particular problem with this thing? Can this thing even be useful? That's how a wealthy person thinks. But a poor person will be angry. Even we should stop putting this in my shop. Oh, we don't even stop to think about, you know, when something happens in my life, like 1, 2, 3 times, I stop and think, okay, this is not something just, it's not a mistake, right?
Yeah, it's not
What do I
coincidence.
learn? What am I supposed to learn from this thing? What am I
Yeah.
supposed to do with this thing? Now, let's use that opportunity to fast track because we should be out of here in like 20 minutes. Let's use that to go to money, right? Money is a tool. Money answers all things. And when the Bible says answers all things, you're not joking. It's the love of it that is to cause problem. But it answered all things. There's a lot. Money gives you options. Look, when you
Or
have money to do things, you can try. If you're a marketer here, you're running ads. You have money. You can try. You can do A/B testing tire to know what
yes.
works. But you
Yes.
have just 50K. You are going to be rubbing your hands, trying to manage, save costs. You might even at the end of the day you lose everything. Money is a tool that you use to grow the things in your hand, right? Money can be made from literally anything. There's nothing you call in this life that money cannot be made, because money only comes to you in 2 ways. Number one, favor. Somebody dash you, which doesn't happen every day. The second way is value exchange. You cannot
Yes.
make money in a good way outside these two things. Every other thing you try is going to lead you into trouble. Either you're exchanging value or somebody gave it to you. Now, majority of us, let me talk to my Christian brothers, because part of the things I want to start doing now is to correct some of our mindsets about money.
Okay.
God is not going to give you money you cannot manage. Not money you cannot use for business. Not money that you're praying to grow. No. God only gives you money based on what you can manage. If you cannot manage, no matter how much you pray for it, it will not come. Management is simple, right? So you have money. Let's say you have 100,000 today. That 100,000 is supposed to grow. But if you don't use it well, it won't grow. Let's use the 3 guys in the Bible that they gave talent, right? They gave somebody 1, gave him 3, gave him 5, they gave the other guy 5. The Bible said their master gave them according to their capacity.
Yeah.
The money you are earning today is not a function of any other thing outside your capacity.
Yeah.
If you want to increase the money, increase your capacity. What is capacity? Your capacity is your skill, your knowledge, your relationships, the resources that you have. You are a drum. A human being is like a drum. 50 liters of water cannot pour out 100 liters. 50 liters will always pour out 50 liters or even less.
Yes.
All it has. So you need to fill yourself up to a certain capacity to be able to attract the kind of money that you want. You cannot, I'm a designer, right? I mean, there's the amount of cash that I need in my life. You know, I want to make money, right? But I'm always honest. I mean, I was on a call with you a couple of days ago. I was like, oh, Amaya, I want to learn this thing, but I need to do. Amaya's like, oh no, you have to cut down the time it takes to learn so that you can be able to do it faster and still do other things. You need to ask yourself, the people who are making this money, what are they doing? In Igbo, if you are Igbo here, they say, which means if they tell you what to be is doing, can you do it? Most of us pray for money, we ask for money, we request for money, like we think about money without knowing what to do for that money or what needs to be done for that money. You say you want to make 1 million a month. Is it from the plantain chips that you are selling 1? that want to give you 1 million. You will need to sell to 1,000 people. That's if your plantain chips is 1,000 naira. If your plantain chips is 100 naira, we are talking 10,000. Where do you want to see? Unless you are selling a redemption camp, or maybe you are selling in the stadium. That's where you see plantain chips to sell for 1 million. You have to ask yourself, what are these people doing? If those people don't want to tell you, get into their circle. And you see the problem. Somebody says, well, I'm trying to get close to this person. It's as if they don't want to get close to me. You are simply not valuable. You're not helpful to them. And people don't want people that always want to take from them. They want people that when they work with, they can see growth, they can see change, and they can also see their lives. People think that when someone comes into your life, you're supposed to just, and that person is okay. Just because somebody is sharing with you, doesn't mean you should keep taking.
Yeah.
So when it comes to our money habits, managing, you first have to look at your capacity. What is it within my control? And how can I utilize these things?
Yeah.
They gave you 100,000 naira. You're a Christian. You take out 10K, you pay your tax. Now you have 90,000 naira. Now, with 90,000 naira, how much should go into my ads and why? We don't make decisions because they say you should make. Oh, they say you should run ads, so I ran ads. Why? What is the end goal of this thing I'm going to do? What is the result? What's the process? If you don't understand the process, don't start it. If you don't understand how it's going to work, don't do it. Because you will waste your cost of living. We don't talk about cost of living. Is this somebody saying in Nigeria with 250,000 you cannot survive? Wow. You people are earning 250,000 in Nigeria? There are people who are earning 50K and they are not dying. Now, this is not to say that the economy is good or anything, but you can cut your cost according to your, is it according to your clothes now? Can cut your cost. Ask yourself, what this thing, there are things that you're buying that you and I know that you don't need. There are things you're currently doing that you genuinely don't need, that you can skip them. Save so that you can make better decisions. If you're earning 250K per month, close your eyes, save 75,000 every month. By October, you have 750K. By December, you have 850. With 850,000 in 2025, you can make decisions that will move. There's no amount of marketing you do with 850,000 that will not bring you results. That's what I'm saying. But you eat it in the name that I cannot have anything. And then you land in 2025. You start from scale one with New Year resolutions and things you promise you will do that you will not do. Both of us know that you will not do it. You repeat the same patterns, expecting a change. If you want to grow money, ask yourself, what can I do with this money that will bring things back? But start from the first law of increase is order. ORDER. The first law of increase is order. If you don't know how much it leaves, you can never know how much that is coming.
Yeah.
How much is leaving your account? Some people don't know. How much you spend on airtime this month? I think 20,000. Should you be spending 20,000 on data? Can you do less or can what plan can you do that will save you costs? I used to do 37 gig every month. What am I saying? Every 4 days, you know, and so it's 6,005. So 6,005, you do it twice in a week. That's 13K. You do it 8 times in a month. That's almost 100 and something thousand you've spent. Because it's 6,500, it's small. 6,500, 10 times is 65. That's about 50 something thousand. But 200 gig in a month is 25,000. So I think it cuts your cost by, you save you 25K. If I'm eating now, I when I started taking these things serious, I realized that sometimes when we are shouting and screaming, Father Lord help me, God doesn't like to hear this way because they're annoying. Because it's almost like, see the solution on your front, you are refusing. I used to eat, and as at then salary was around 250, and I used to eat out. So I said, let me start recording my expenses. That food was 50,000. I'm like, I don't understand. Like I ate 170K. What did I do with my life? Like, where did the food go? Like, why am I eating 170,000? And you see that I bought a plate of Spark for 10K, or I bought snacks, I'm like, wait, this is just wrong. Can I cook? Yes. So I said to go to market. Now, when I went to market to buy everything I needed to buy, everything was 67,000. You know how much I save myself? Almost 90 something thousand in savings that I can put and keep aside. But most people don't take this thing serious because what? We want to keep complaining. We want to keep, criticizing our government. The government is not going to solve your problem. I promise you. These people in Nigeria, I tell you, I'm in Nigeria. They are not ready to solve your problem. You have to now decide to yourself, what can I do to get out of this rat race? This whole I'm running out of money thing. I have to borrow. There's a program I attend every end of the month. I probably will share it. My church organizes it. It's a paid program for people to plan for 2025. It's called Stretch. We've done it for 2 years now, and every time we get to the depth of Nigeria, it always makes me laugh because for 2023, right, things were not bad. Every Nigerian was owing 40,000 naira at January 1 because we had about 19 trillion worth of debt. As of today, that our debt is 100 plus, every Nigerian is probably owing 500,000 to some country they don't even know about, right? So even in your country, money that is meant for you, you're already in debt. But you don't know. You don't know anything about this thing. Your business money, you are eating your business money. They pay you, client pays you today. You don't remove costs, you don't count your profits, you don't remove revenue, gross margin, any of those things. And you just eat the money. Somebody asks for money, you just take from there. So you don't know how to say, I don't have, leave it. Saying no is one of the things you need to learn when you're making money. Now, you're stingy, right? But it's easier to help people when you are at an advantage rather than disadvantage. That's why they tell people that sometimes tell no to everybody so that you can later say yes.
Yeah.
Say no to everybody so that you can later say yes. Because if you keep saying yes, you're making 50K. They ask you for 10 people ask you for money, you gave 6. That's 30K gone. But if you kept quiet and did your thing over 2 years, now you have maybe like 500,000. If 10 people ask you for money, you can still give them the same amount of money they're asking for and still have more to do what you want to do. You can even help more people. So it's always very, very important. Know exactly where such amount is supposed to be going. Know what you're supposed to be doing with a certain amount. Have a plan for your money. One thing I learned about money is that if you don't plan for it, you plan for you.
Yeah.
See, there's this experience where you're expecting money and people are already calling you that, can I have some money? And you're like, did they drop the menu somewhere that I'm supposed to receive money or something? When it comes to money, we're not going to go into, okay, this is how you make money and stuff. Understanding the basics. Some of you are not suffering. You're not suffering. Your problem is just order. Sort out your finances. Know exactly what goes to what. Currently, I spend like 50K a month on data. I know exactly the amount of spend on data. I know how much I spend on food. I know how much I spend on personal things. I know how much I set aside for people that they call black tax. That people will just call you randomly. And say I put 20K down for people I will give. Somebody who calls me to beg for money. If the money finish and you call me, I don't have money. Me, I'm broke. And I'll tell you, maybe you should try again next month. It's like that. You need to be able to plan for these things like this. And you just watch that. You're increasing in your finances and God is giving you more to handle. Remember, I said God can give you more than you can manage.
Yeah.
God is giving you more to handle because when you handle 100,000 well, God is like, this boy took this 100,000 to 100. It's the same thing the master did in the Bible. He took the 1 and gave to the 5. Well, they'll give you more resources. Right? They will there's a part of the Bible that always scares me where they say they will take from the less and give to more. And I'm like, God, I don't want to be the less. Because the less always thinks that they're in a place of disadvantage. And it's just life. People will collect from that less and give to the guy that can do something. They gave 100,000 to do a job. They gave another guy maybe 200,000 or maybe 100,000, same 100,000. This guy took his 100,000 to 500,000. Maybe next month they're still supposed to give you guys 100,000. They're not giving you jack. They will take that one you hand and add to his 500 so that he can do more. Because if he can do 100 to 500, he can definitely do more, right? So when it comes to making money is not the no shades. There's no miracle money anywhere. I promise you, there's no miracle money waiting for you anywhere. Money is simply value exchange. in your lifetime, say maybe people will dash you money a couple of times. Now, if you want to see for Christians, when you see favor, right? Favor cannot work in a place of waste.
Mm.
Anytime there's favor in a place of waste, it will always lead to slavery. Anytime you give somebody money that does not know how to do anything, you have created a tyrant. You have created somebody who's it's like somebody who is drinking beer. You know, he's always drinking beer all the time. He says, go have some, sir. I need money. You know, you didn't ask him for training plan or anything, and you gave him 5 million. You'll be hearing things like, me, 50 bottles. If you try me, because that's the only thing in his head. So you need to ask
Mhm.
yourself, this money I'm always asking God, Lord, increase me, Lord, enlarge. You know, we have all those, big prayers, favor provoking prayers. I mean, I pray them too, right? Because I need favor in my life. We have all those prayers, Lord, enlarge my course, increase me. Ask yourself, if
Yeah.
God increase you today, will you do it well? Will you do it well?
Mm.
When you have capacity, I tell people that it has worked for me. If you want to get something from God, if you want to pray, prayer is like proposal. You go with what you have done. God expects to see it. You can carry that work that you have done and say, God, look, you gave me 1 million last month. We're able to increase our sales to about 2 million. I think we can boost. Can you help me? Do we need to hire more people? Talk to God like that. You see, when you are doing things with God like this, God is like, amazing, amazing. I love what we're doing. You're helping people's lives now. You're talking to people. How many people did you do this for? How many businesses did you increase? Okay. How much you say you need again? You need like 3 million to expand, and it gives you 3
Mm.
million. Maybe he might not want to give you money. He might say, okay, you need a relationship. Maybe you need a mentor. Maybe you need somebody to talk to. And you pay for something, you get the money. There are things I did not have funds to pay for till I started taking steps. So when I took steps, and God doesn't throw money down. God will just show you how to do the money, how to make the money. It's in your front. It doesn't throw money down to anybody. So if you're struggling to get anything, Amaya will always tell me, if you're finding hard, you say you're an industrious person, you can make the money. Just do this thing. Stop getting scared about whether the money will lost or not, right? Go, just do this thing, and you get the money to come. So I mean, that's for me. That's what I have to say when it comes to, as a man, as a person, you should know your identity, right? Fix
True.
your mind and understand that nobody's punishing you somewhere. Understand who you are. Own up to what you're called for. Own up to your identity. Be accountable. Know your edge and be honest about it. When it comes to money, there are principles for it. Learn the principles of money. Read books. Daniel, for instance, was a reader. You said something about royalty. That royalty goes for knowledge, and it was Daniel that my mind even went to first. When you come to the king's house, you have to be a reader. You cannot be a joker. You'll be reading like mad. Some of us this year now, we didn't read Jack. And we're expecting change. 2025 will soon start now, like 80 something days. We didn't read nothing. Sometimes the solutions you are looking for is in the book you are refusing to read. I read Sell or Be Sold in 2019, September 2019. Look, that book alone, it has closed more deals for me in this life that I can imagine. I didn't waste my time going to God. Tell God, God, give me the ability to sell. He has given me anything. He's inside of me. He created me in his image. I already understand. But there are some things I need to put up here because I have a brain. Books. So I
Yeah.
start looking at things. I'm like, oh, I need this to do this and do this. And you move. So
Mm.
stop. When I say this to Christians, stop. There are a lot of things we need to stop praying for, right? We start praying for church, we start praying for our people, praying for the country, but don't be praying for basic things that your brain can do because it's like an insult to God. And for people who like to say that, who like to, Amaya, please allow me to say, forgive me for this, right? There are people
Okay.
who say we represent God, we have to carry Jesus on our head. If you are not doing the things you're supposed to do to help humanity the way God wants you to help humanity, you are useless to God, and you are putting Jesus under your feet. You see people who carry Jesus on their head. You see some people say, I'm with Jesus. They don't read Jack. They don't attend any business school. They don't learn nothing about where they are supposed to be serving God fully. And then the only thing they know is that I go to church, I have Jesus. That's amazing. But the child, the son of the king, who goes to war and brings the head of other kings, will always ascend the throne over the one who sits by the father and cleans the father's feet. Anytime, any day. There's no way you're having a soldier. It's like if you have a son today, if you have 2 children today, and you're going to hand over as queen mother, right? You're not going to give it to your son who's always gisting with you closely. It's the one that has entered the field, who can handle people, build relationships, conquer people, conquer nations, wars, go on for meetings. He knows how to handle things. That's the one you're going to give the responsibility to. And this is how God is. Right? So I hope this night, I'm not going to end it all for us, but I hope this night we'll be able to get something. You guys can share this video with your friends. As I leave Amaya to just conclude for us.
So I'm just going to tie it back to how we started the conversation. When we talked about identity, right? And I think it's in somewhat in Matthew, when scripture talks in any of the gospels, you see it, when Jesus was saying that you are the light of the world and you are the salt of the earth. So it's like you are the light of the world. World is like the entirety of the globe. If you're watching the globe, right? You are the light of the world and you are the salt of the earth. So what that means is that you are supposed to radiate, like have that radiance, give light to darkness, give meaning to things, give structures to places where there is decadence, ensure that place becomes more profitable, more useful. As the salt of the earth, you are required to preserve. You are required to preserve, because if you look at salt, what does salt do? Even in the kitchen, is that small, salt and sugar, they look the same, but their effect is different. You can't cook with sugar. Yep. The effect is different. So in the ancient time, people used to use salt to sort of preserve meat. That's like it's a preserving element. Now, aside just preserving meat, salt gives taste. That means God has placed you here to preserve people, preserve a culture, preserve a nation, preserve a system. So if you think of yourself like that, it's the way you approach life and things will be different. Think of it that you are the light of the world. Of the world, not your street, not your area, not your country, not your local government, the world. And thank God, because of technology, you have access to tap into that. The world. So that means you are sort of limitless. So if you have that perspective, thinking about it that, okay, the problem you want to solve, someone somewhere in China or Singapore, that's the person you are up against. I think there's this scripture in Jeremiah, when Jeremiah was crying and he was just saying, Lord, and the Lord said to him, oh boy, calm down. If you are walking with men, you are complaining. What will you do when you have to run against horses? So if you know that the core solution to most of the challenges that you have is a knowledge deficit and be action-oriented, execution-oriented, you will bridge that gap. You bridge that gap. You bridge that gap. So as a man, know your identity. Keep reminding yourself of it, because life will throw you basbos, as they say in Nigeria. Keep reminding yourself with it. That's why God had to tell Joshua, this book of the law, meditate therein day and night. And you will then make your way prosperous and have good success by that action, not the inaction, by the action. Then your mind. Romans will then tell us in Romans 12, it says, be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That means there's the state that you get to, that life happens to you, that it's like in local parlance, it's like saying it cramps your style. You have to reinvent yourself. I tell you for free that the Joseph that landed in Egypt is not the same Joseph that went to Potiphar's house. It's not the same Joseph that went to the palace. Man
Not the
of God
same.
needed, is not the same guy. He reinvention. So you are allowed to change your form,
Change.
reinvent, evolve. You're allowed. Then money in itself is not necessarily evil. It's a tool.
It's a
And you
tool.
know what tools are for? Tools help your productivity be easier. It makes life easier for you. With more money, you can be more generous. With more money, you have more options. With more money, you have more good that you can do in the world.
True.
With more money, you have more good that you can do in the world. Aside just, me and my family, there's so much more that you can also give out to many causes. There's so much more. There's so much more. So if we've said a lot of things into this conversation, but I'll tell you this: every man is a product of his decisions, his choices, and his actions. His decisions, his choices, and his actions. And so, if you say that you don't have the ability or the capacity to hire coaches or mentors, the first starting point is get a book on that subject matter. I was listening to Dr. Olumide Emmanuel. He was saying that every area in your life where you have challenges, you need to read the number of books according to your age in that area. I was like, woo, there's plenty work. There's plenty work. He said, any area in your life you have challenges, read the number of books according to your age. Say one book for 1 year, two book for two. So just read.
Ah,
And now, for the funny thing, but entering into DDK's Inner Circle and Mastermind this year, she said something to us in the Mastermind. She's like, nobody gets awarded to saying that I read 100 books. No passage
yes.
in my life. She's like, what is this problem that I have that there's an information in this book that I need to solve? Go to that
True.
chapter, take it and deploy, execute. Nobody gets awarded for saying I've read 100 books when you've not gotten 100 solutions yet. There's no need. Who are you trying to impress? And thank God for technology with AI. The good thing with AI is that if you are a master at prompting, you can read 5 books in a day.
Hold on. You have to explain what prompting is. So it's not everybody that know what prompting is.
Prompting is simple. Take it that you're asking AI question the same way Obi has been asking me questions. So when you're asking a question, be very specific, right? So for instance, you want to say, okay, let me use a book now. Say, for instance, the book Secret of a Millionaire Mind. So you just say, I'll tell you typically how I will prompt it. Give me a detailed summary of this book in 6,000 words, highlighting practical steps that as a professional, put your profession, that I can use to get results in this particular area. So it's like, it's not just like what is that's baby. Prompting is that it obeys to the law of specificity. And then say, use simple language, easy English to understand. So it's not telling you speaking too much jargons, like big words that you have to go use the dictionary for. No. So it will then break it down for you in a way that in 15 minutes, when you sit down to read that 6,000 words, you know what to do, even if you don't pick up that book. You know what to do. So there are no extras. And even if you say, okay, I cannot read, there's Audible. You can listen to books. I, for one, I am a much more better auditory learner.
When I hear things, I make images in my head so I won't forget it. So it comes, I know myself that much. It's not like I don't read, I read, but it's like the secondary way. For me, it's okay, let's listen to this thing. Can it be listened to first before I sit down to read it? Do you understand me? You just have to know yourself well enough to know what works for you. And especially now, if you are a person that is sort of, you have multiple passions, you have to be able to delegate your time properly. So how can you leverage your technology to work best for you? There's a guy.
True.
There's a guy that I saw on Instagram. You know, one of you was saying that you can make money from anything. Honestly, that's the truth. There's a guy I saw on Instagram that what he typically does is he summarizes books into a 15 minutes whether clip or note for CEOs. He just says CEOs are busy. Any book at all, he'll summarize it and give you the main points. But typically, the ordinary person would say, "Who wants a summary of a book?"
And person does not have that problem. When you have problem, you look for it.
Exactly. So please and please adopt the habit of royalty, which is reading. If you know back in the day, Obi used to tell us that readers are leaders. It has not still changed. It has not still
hasn't
changed.
changed.
The good thing about reading is that it helps your mind get access to new information that can then create new neural pathways in your mind in how you think. Because even God knows that a man's biggest challenge first is how he thinks. As a man thinketh, so he is.
So
So if we can reshape and rearrange your thought process, your thought patterns, we can change anything about your life circumstance. Your thoughts will influence your behavior. Your behavior will influence your action. So if you can get it right there in your thoughts, your behaviors will be influenced and your actions will be influenced. So pretty much.
Thank you very much, Amaya. Thank you so much. Thank you for agreeing to do this with me today. It's an honor. Thank you for always listening to my rants, right? So this is Amaya. Amaya is my big sis, and she's been with me for quite some time now, and she's helped, right? So if you're kind of struggling with your thought process, you're trying to get things well, she has programs you can take on self-help. You can book discovery calls with her. You're having some, mental health problems, relationship. She handles things like that, right? So you can always reach out to Amaya on her IG page. You can just go to my followers and put Amaya, you will see it. That's all. You go down my page, or you can text me, you will see it, right? So thank you very much, Amaya, man. And we do this like almost every year. We did for 2023, 22. This is amazing. Yeah. I'm really grateful. God bless you so much. For me, thank you very much. All right, then. We'll see when we see. Thank you very much. All right, good night, guys. Share with your friends. Make sure you share this with your friends so that they can watch more to come. And this October, we're going to have more people coming on. So share this video with your friends. If you have questions, please reach out to me on WhatsApp or here on YouTube, and I'll respond to your questions. Thank you very much, guys. Good night.